Hello, everyone. This is Jenna Ryan, your self-love life coach. Today, I'm going to be talking about the interrogator. This is a person who pretends to be your friend, pretends to be on your side, pretends to like you, to care about you, and all the while they are asking you questions, getting information from you about you as negative as they can. They really, really hold on to negative information about you and anything they can to figure out who you are so that they can figure out how to manipulate you and trigger you and harm you later. These people, I'm calling them interrogators. They feign concern. They feign like they care about you, and then they get you to a place where you share intimate knowledge about yourself, and then they use that intimate knowledge about you in myriad ways. And if you are someone who has lacked boundaries or who doesn't have awareness or doesn't have internal boundaries and a red flashing light that says stop, or warning, red flag. When you are interrogated, when you are probed, when you're being really overly tracked by someone, almost to the stalker level, then you may not recognize this is happening. You may not recognize you're talking to an interrogator. You may not know that you're in an interrogation, and you may share information that you don't share with anyone else with this person or various people in your life, whatever it is. You may share private information with this person that is none of their business, that they later use to shame you, or that gives them power over you, or that takes away your power or takes away your autonomy, your agency to make decisions on who you tell what to. A person who is an interrogator has bad intentions for you. They are not healthy, they're toxic, they're not good to talk to. And so we have to know in our process of loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves how to stop the interrogator. Personally, I've had to deal with a lot of interrogators in my life. And I'm going to call it like the interrogator spirit, because I don't think the whole person is necessarily bad, but these tactics of probing and information gathering and almost creating a report about you from these people is a spirit of familiarity. It's a spirit of trying to put one over on you, trying to get you to share private information without respect for what comes naturally for you to share. So they want to go where no one else would dare go, or, a respectful person is not going to get you talking about negative things about yourself or sharing private information about yourself. But an interrogator, this is someone who has a lack of character. There are good people in the world, but there are also bad people. That's why, the Bible says to put on the full armor of God. And it talks about how there will be people that come and try to attack you and try to take you off your path. And these interrogators are those people. They want to control you, and they want to know every little thing about you. They ask questions that are none of their business. They make you feel uncomfortable. Now, if you are just now learning how to set boundaries, you may have a life and a whole bunch of friends or acquaintances or whatever, family members who are interrogators. They want to know everything going on. And if you're really, really enmeshed, you may feel obligated. You may not want to do anything. You may feel obligated to tell someone every bad thing that happens to you or has happened to you, you may just feel compelled, habitually compelled to share negative information with a family member that you're enmeshed with, and that information can be used against you. So when I'm trying to talk about these things, it's like ideas swirl in my head. And it's like for days I'll be thinking about this. I want to do a podcast on this. I want to do a podcast. I want to talk about this and I want to share, but how can I bring all of this information together? And so that's what I'm trying to do right now. There are negative people, there are bad people, there are toxic people, and there are good people. And you have to know the difference between these types of people, because if you don't, you can be hurt. You can be hurt, you can be triggered, you can be trapped, you can be led astray, you can be harmed. And so it's important to recognize when you are speaking with, being intimate with someone who is an interrogator. Because the interrogator, in the sense that I am talking about, does not have your best interest at heart. The information that they try to gain about you is not anything they need to know. It's not anything that's going to benefit you. It's not anything that's going to help you for your future. It's just information that they want to know so that they can use it against you. The interrogator is sadistic. They feed off the negative emotions of others. If they can trigger someone, they feel as though they get an adrenaline rush. They get an adrenaline rush when they make someone upset. They get an adrenaline rush when you share information that's none of their business. And if you are in a weak position, like I've had in the past, few years, I've gone through some things. And I've been in vulnerable positions, in vulnerable situations, and I lost my mom, and just so many things happened to me that there have been people that have come to me as if they were angels, but they come to find out they're devils. They're not angels. And if you share information about yourself in a vulnerable moment, these people will hold it over your head, use it against you, stab you in the back, share your information with people that is none of their business. They will hold it over your head. They will make you feel uncomfortable. They will befriend other people and make you feel like your private information is going to be shared. You have to be super careful about who you share your information with, other than just very basic, day-to-day things. There's different levels of personal information. You have your basic day-to-day. You have your deep feelings. Okay, you have your normal feelings, deep feelings, and then you have your past. You have your future plans, you have your worries, you have your doubts, you have your motivations. There's so many aspects to your humanity, but not everyone deserves access to any part of you. And the only person that can really tell and really know who is trustworthy and who is not is you. And there will be times when untrustworthy people will get close to you and they will get information about you and they will share it and they will hurt you with their information and they will hurt you with the closeness that they had to you. And these people, you can't always see them. But what I want to talk about right now are the interrogators that are obvious if you're aware. I've been watching a lot of interrogations on YouTube. I find the behavioral science aspect of interrogations extremely interesting. I love watching the dynamics of the interrogator, and I love watching the dynamics of the person who's, being forced to confess. And I love watching the dynamics and the manipulation, and the whole process is fascinating to me. And I think it's fascinating for a lot of us, but for me, it really helps me to understand what is going on in a human interaction. And, if you look at an interrogation, you've got a crime, you've got a valid crime, and the interrogator, their job, they're the good guy, their job is to find out the truth about the crime. So there's someone with a criminal mind who has harmed someone else, stolen, whatever they've done. And then there's the interrogator who's trying to get the truth. So that's an interrogation. That's a good thing, okay? But they're allowed to lie or do whatever, according to our laws, to get that information out of the target, out of the defendant. And I find that very interesting. But one of the things that you realize when you watch, 100 hours of these interrogations is that it's never good to share information with the interrogator. It never ends up in the favor of the defendant. And one of the things that people are always saying in the comments is, you need a lawyer. The first thing they do is they read you your rights. They have to read you your rights, and they say you have a right to an attorney. But they have the person in a vulnerable position. So they have the person in a one-down position because they have guilt, or because they may have to go back to their cell, which is boring. They may be having to go back to, unknown. So they're holding them over a barrel. The defendant is over a barrel of unknown. So that's whenever the interrogator, the detective, reads the rights to the defendant, they say, you have a right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. And then they say, everything that you say can and will be used against you. And do you still want to talk? And 9 times out of 10, the person wants to talk. The person is going to talk. And if they've done something wrong, it's so obvious that they're guilty because of the way they behave. Their behavior shows their guilt, because it's very difficult for a human to lie. There's all sorts of tells, and psychologically, you just really can't hide those things unless you have an attorney who can say, no, this man will not testify. This man does not want to be interrogated. Unless you have an attorney that will invoke your rights, then you are going to be prey to the system. And I understand that even innocent people can be forced into situations where they say things that make them look guilty, even if they're not. So I bring up all that to just kind of give you an idea of when you're talking to someone and they're asking probing questions about you, you have to invoke your rights. You have to invoke your emotional, personal rights, your Bill of Rights, your what do I call it? Your human Bill of Rights, Self-Love You 101. There's a Bill of Rights. You have a right to not answer questions. You have a right to stop any line of questioning from anyone at any time if you do not feel comfortable with what's being asked. If you have an idea that someone is, or if you have a feeling, you are not obligated to share personal information with anyone. And we're going to get into it, but I just want to really drive home the point that when you are in a situation where someone is asking probing questions, what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is these are not normal questions. Like if you're talking with a friend and you're like, yeah, this happened. Yes, today this happened. That happened. Someone who is for your good is not going to push the button of going deeper into something that's painful. They're not going to go, okay, and then what happened? And then what happened? And then what happened? They don't care. If someone really cares about you, they want to focus on whatever it is that's important for you to get across. They're not trying to dig through the sewer of negativity to pull out negative information and then write notes about it. But the interrogator personality is. The interrogator personality is there to gain information about you so that they can use it against you later. They are going to ask you to expound upon details of that tragic moment in your life, in your past. They are very skilled at getting you to open up. They're very skilled at getting you to feel obligated to answer their questioning. They're very skilled at making you feel like you're under a spotlight and you are required to share these things. They know what to say. They know how to manipulate the conversation to get you talking, just like those interrogators do on YouTube when they're, in the detectives. Those detectives are trained to get you to talk and to get you to confess. Well, these interrogator type personalities that I've had around me my whole life, they are also well skilled in getting you to talk. They know how to use your lack of knowledge of what your rights are to get you to share private, personal information that is damaging you in the wrong hands. So there are parts of yourself that you do not share with every person that asks. There are parts of your life that you need to guard. You need to guard your heart. The Bible says to guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. You have to guard your heart and guard what you share and with whom. You may have a group of friends. You may have a handful of friends. Some of those friends are going to be worthy of hearing the things about you that other friends are not going to be worthy of hearing, because the other friends may tell someone, or may be chatty Cathy, or may bring it up later, and they've proven that they've done that in the past and they'll probably do it again. And then there's other friends that you can trust, that they've proven time and again that they're not going to nibble at your negative emotion. They're not going to nibble at anything from the sewer of your life, because we all have negative things that happen to us. We all have things we'd rather not discuss. We all have things that are in our past. We all have things that happen that we just don't want to talk about. We want to move on from. But these interrogators want to constantly go back. They want to go back to the scene of the crime, wherever something negative happened to you, and they want to remind you of it. They want to plant seeds of your past, or of negative things. They want to plant seeds from the past, negative things that happened, into your future. You could even be doing this to yourself. You could even be going back in your own past because you haven't resolved your shame for whatever it is. And you may do this to yourself. I've seen people who actually keep going back to the scene of their own crime, or to the scene of their own bad relationship, or their own bad thing that they did and they feel bad about, or their own bad thing that happened to them that they feel shame about, or that they haven't worked through, or they haven't processed. They will constantly relive it within themselves like a broken record. And that's, being your own internal interrogator. But these people who are interrogators, watch out for them. And this is not, they do kind of display kind of like a therapeutic vibe. They will display a therapeutic vibe, but they're not therapists. And a therapist, if they're a good therapist, from my experience, doesn't go there. A good therapist is trained not to probe into trauma or things that you're not ready to share. They will just focus on whatever is healing for you and good for you. Whereas the interrogator does the opposite. They use therapeutic methods to dig in to the depths of your shame or whatever they can find in effort to trigger you. And once you are healed, you can see this interrogator in action, and then you can put a stop to it. And it's beautiful whenever you've grown to a place where you're like, get out of here. No, I see you. I see what you're doing, and that's not going to work with me. I'm to the point now where if someone is an interrogator, I might let them slide by getting through my defenses, which, would definitely be something everyone needs to work on. I may let them do that, but ultimately, once they come back to use that information against me, and I'm like, okay, no, you're not going to use that against me. You're out. You're out. No. You're not going to do that. So when an interrogator uses your information that you've shared against you, you feel a prick in your heart. And the depth of the prick will tell you the depth of your healing. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, remember that time you did this? And you're like, oh God, no, I don't want to remember the time. One TikTok was talking about how the girl was like, there was a friend that was like, remember that time you threw up in the bathroom at that party? That's an interrogator. That an interrogator keeps track of everything you've ever done that they've seen or that you've shared with them, any personal information that they think may cause you pain, and they will bring it up when they talk to you. They will try to find a way to insert it. And they may even insert things like, oh, well, you're not married. You're not married. And they can turn it around to, you're not married, and that is great. Or something, they use this manipulation where there's plausible deniability as to whether they're really doing what they're doing. And you're like, I see you. I see what you're doing. You are actually an interrogator who is now throwing this stuff up in my face or trying to get me to get off into a shame spiral. But I'm sorry, I'm healed, and you can't do that. You can't do that to me because, first of all, I know that every human is flawed, and I have flaws. And I know that I'm not perfect, but I am regretful that I ever spoke to you about such a deep subject. So you have to be so careful who you share your life with, because you don't know if they're going to take the information you share and write an article about you in the paper, like has happened to me, where they took private conversations and wrote articles and twisted my words and made me, mocked me and ridiculed me and made fun of me from my own words, saying that I said this, that, and the other, when really they're just an interrogator and they're lying and they're twisting and they hate me and they want to hurt me. This can happen to you. And it may not be an article in a paper, but it might be a rumor that they swirl in your family, a smear campaign. They're going to be right there feeding like a sewer rat, a rat gnawing on the pain that you've endured. So whenever you share your pain with an interrogator, you are putting yourself in danger of being hurt. And it's not healthy for yourself, because you want to try to create an environment that you live in that's healthy and lovely and good, so that you can grow and fulfill your dreams and fulfill your purposes and stay on your path and not be knocked off your center by shame. So the interrogator really targets your shame. They're trying to find your shame points. And if they do, they get a bingo. They're like, ding, 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 I got it. And then they write it down in their mental book. And they interrogate all day long. They make great journalists. They're like journalists, but they're not really journalists. They're just people that are trying to get information on you. And who knows, they could be journalists, and they could be, hanging out, trying to be your best friend and getting information from you. Depends on who you are. So you have to be so careful about what you share with other people, and learning that not every person needs to know about the person who treated you poorly last month or last week. Not everyone is deserving of all the information. And it's a mark of maturity, and it's a mark of self-love and self-care to be very judicious about who you dole your private information to. That you maintain your own privacy, that you maintain a wall around you where people cannot jump over it. And so I'm thinking about this because there is a woman who, in my life, she was like really hounding and asking me questions about my life. And I was in a vulnerable place when she started this process, and I was vulnerable, and I my mom had just died, and you're not your whole, you're not always on your center when you get knocked off. And so she came in a time when I was off my center and just started really interrogating me, questioning me, asking me very in-depth questions, and then sharing information about herself, which makes one feel obligated to share in like kind. And I remember I spoke to this woman, and the next day I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, why did I share this information with this woman? Who is she? Just some random person. And I shared my private information, and who is she? I don't even really know. And I remember going, okay, I'm not going to talk to this person because God, she kept asking these questions, and she kept honing in on whatever it was that was negative. And it's not like I'm not used to this, because I have been in these kinds of relationships in the past where I felt obligated to share negative information. So then later on, several months later, this person, for some reason, she wasn't blocked or whatever. She got a new number, and she called me, and she started doing it again, but way worse. And then I was like, she was asking me questions, like details about something negative in my life. And I was like, I don't know. And I knew, but I wasn't going to answer her question. She asked me again. She asked me twice. And I said, I don't know. It was text. She asked me a third time, and I said, I don't know. So what is that? That's like a broken record technique. And then, against my better intuition, I had a conversation with her. And I noticed in the conversation, because I was already aware of this interrogator spirit, it wasn't like at the forefront of my mind because I had forgotten, because it had been months, because they always come back. It's a covert narcissism tactic. Interrogation like this is covert narcissism, where they act friendly, but they're asking questions and you feel like you're sharing, but you're not sharing in a beneficial way. You're sharing in a way that's devaluing your ability to make strong decisions on who deserves your trust and who doesn't. And so, it's good to share your feelings, and it's good to share, but not all your feelings are good to share. And I jumped out of that one, and I saved myself on that one. But then I'm like, why did I even talk to this woman in the first place? I want to really put down in stone that people need to not do that. That we, that you, that me, that we all, sometimes my own videos are for me. And we need to know, hey, not everybody deserves to have access to you. And that's common sense. But sometimes if you're in a vulnerable position, you may feel like you have to answer questions, or you needed to answer a question, or you just may need someone to talk to. And this is the person that's talking, and they're interrogating you. And that's kind of like it is for those defendants who are criminals, who are in the, perceived, they're innocent until proven guilty, but they're in the interrogation room and they need to talk. They need to share. And so they end up being manipulated into sharing information that is damaging to their freedom for life. Whereas if they had like an attorney to say, no, this person's not available, then the interrogator's not going to have information to use against the person. The interrogator doesn't have anything to put in their report, and they have to find out everything on their own. And, when it's so much easier for them to just come and question you beyond question you. So interrogators, it kind of reminds me also of the, when you go to, this is stupid, but I hate it. When you go to a store and they want your phone number, and they want your name, your email address, your phone number, your address. They want to know all your information at these stores so that they can track you. They can track your purchases, so that they can advertise to you, and also so they can know more about you. This interrogative spirit is one that wants to surveil you, wants to know everything about you, so that you are locked in a box of being known with no privacy. Privacy is the essence of freedom. And if they are able to know everything about you, know all of your purchases, know where you live, know what you like, know what you say on your phone, all of these things put together, and then sell that information, then they can manipulate you in ways that may or may not be beneficial to you. But that's what's happening. And so this is the interrogator in a person form. They're manipulating you to feed on your wounds. To feed on your wounds. They want to feed on it because it makes them feel powerful. They want you to give away your power. And when you're sharing your private information with someone that is just asking, and that's all they had to do, and they haven't proven themselves, and they haven't done anything to show that they're trustworthy or worthwhile, you're giving your power away because they could come back later and harm you. And, there's even people, that proclaim to be, people on social media, they want to know about that they want to trigger you. They want to cause you to feel pain. They want to be in control of you. They want to be like a puppet master. They want to get hold of your shame and rule you with your wounds. It's Narcissism 101 NPD. They don't have any self, and that their self is created through their false self. There uses other people's pain so that they can feel powerful and valuable. These interrogators will use this information against you later. Not only will they share it with whomever they can, but they will also use it when they're talking to you to remind you of your failures, to remind you of your past, to remind you of how stupid you were that you shared that with them, to remind you that they have that information and can use it against you, to remind you that they have something on you. And these are people that are just plain evil. I don't know if there's hope for them. I haven't really, I'm not the judge and the jury, but I am a judge of someone that does this to you. If they do, they need to be cut out. They are looking for weak people that they can prey upon, that they can interrogate, that doesn't have boundaries to say, I don't know. Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't really want to go there. I don't know. I'm doing great. How are you doing? There's also the kind of interrogators that are interrogating you so that they can find reasons to reject you. They're just literally trying to get as deep as they can into your being so that they can find out information about you to see if they want to be friends with you, or if they can find some reason to just, to see that you have bad character. So they want to, use that as a reason. They are like really asking you personal, pointed questions. Don't answer pointed, personal questions if someone is asking them, first of all, when you just meet them. Okay? Private, pointed questions about how you feel, about your philosophies on life, about your past relationships, about your past hurt, past pain, things like that. Someone you just met does not have the right to that information. If they think they have the right, then they are not respectful of boundaries. And that is a red flag. In the dating world, you're expected to go and tell, a lot of times it's like, hi, how are you? Fine, how are you? What are you doing this weekend? Da, 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 da. I mean, you have no obligation to tell anyone anything. You can trust them. And even sometimes, like a year later, you really think that you can trust someone, they will stab you in the back with your own information if you do something that they don't like. But that's not necessarily the interrogator spirit that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a tangible person who literally goes from person to person, asking them how they're doing, what's going on, what happened. They remember your private dates, like they remember the name of the dog that you had 8 years ago. They're pondering, they're scheming, they're conniving to get you into a trap where they can wrap you up in your shame. And someone like myself who may have some open parts that overly shares too soon without self-protection. So someone like me, they hang around that. They feed on it. They feast on it like little demons. And if you're someone who doesn't have all your ducks in a row and you're not feeling strong, maybe you're halfway strong. Like me, sometimes I'll have some weak moments and I might, like I shared with this woman, and you have some weak moments, but then you get strong and you get to a new place and you see who they are and you can stamp them out and be like, get out. I see you. I see what you're doing. Wrong person. You're not going to pull that crap with me. And you can do that when you have strength. But what if I didn't have this strength? What if this same woman who came to me asking me questions around a dramatic situation that I was going through, really digging in and really digging up dirt against me, on me, bringing up stuff, making me talk about things I didn't want to talk about. She can't make me. What if I was someone who had wounds that had not been healed? Then she would have got pay dirt, okay? Because if she, let's say someone went through just what I went through, and she's also calling that person and asking that person pointed questions about their pain and about their trauma. And then that person doesn't have self-love, doesn't know about healing, is not tapped into her own toxic shame, hasn't healed her own toxic shame, who actually feels the shame really strongly. What if that same woman went to that young lady or that woman or that mother who she was trying to be a journalist or help or whatever she's saying she's trying to do? Every day it's a different story on this interrogator. And this last time I talked to her, she had so much more information about all these people than before. It was really weird. And then what if you're doing this and you haven't healed? Then this woman is going to eat your lunch. She is going to eat your lunch. She's going to take you to the cleaners. She's going to cause you to feel pain. She has the capacity to keep you down for years. She could you could think she's your best friend because you've shared everything with her, and she'll know how to put a positive spin on some of her negative stuff. And you might think, if you're not healed and you don't know how to have boundaries and you don't know how to walk away from people that aren't serving you and helping you and not godly and not good for you, and then you might allow this person to stay, and they may just trigger your shame. Ping, 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 ping your shame, your toxic shame, that toxic shame that is not your shame, but it's carried shame that you don't even deserve, but you have to work through it, which is what we talk about on this channel so often. And the interrogator will ping your shame. They're trying to ping your shame. They're trying to ping it. They're trying to hurt you. They're trying to passively aggressively slap you in the face by bringing up whatever it is that they think that they've got on you at a time when you're doing well, when you're nowhere near whatever they're talking about. They come back and they try to pour it on you. Or even, let's say you're in a bad position. They'll use it against you. They'll harm you. They'll share it with others. They're bad people. They're bad actors. They have bad motives. Their motives are not to hear you talk. Their motives are not to share. Their motives are not to meet your needs. Their motives are to use your needs and your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities against you and harm you. And you have to be aware that these people are walking among us. They're everywhere, and they're going to try to get to you, especially if you're a shining person, you're vibrant, you're beautiful, you're moving forward, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like imagine Catherine, the Princess of Wales, or someone like that, someone beautiful, someone shining, someone elegant, someone radiant. And I bet that she has to guard from these interrogators. Anybody who's famous, they have people around them that are just almost stalker type qualities, where they interrogate and they want to find that nugget that they can put on the page 6, that they can put on the tabloids about the person. They want to find that. They want to be the person who reveals information. They want to get their 15 minutes of fame off of you because they have interrogated you and gotten to your deep secrets, and they want to win kudos. They want to win kudos for what they know about you. And that's unfortunate, but it does happen whenever you start to live your life and you're in the public and people know who you are. Then that information becomes more valuable to the public because it becomes something they can talk about. So whenever you're a famous person, a well-known person, they have to be super duper guarded. And that's why they have bodyguards. That's why they have bodyguards. That's why they have security. They don't just take phone calls. They don't share information. They don't put anything in writing, that's for sure. They do require things to be in writing before they share. They have NDA agreements. So you have to start looking at yourself as a valuable resource. You're a valuable person, and not everybody can get your valuable information. And if you feel like you need to share, don't. Just don't. And if someone is digging into your life, stop allowing it. Stop them immediately, because they're using this information to keep you in a trap, to keep you as a puppet, and to hold you down and to hold you back. And it's so much more beautiful when you surround yourself with people who are on your side, who are on your team, who you could tell negative things to, and they would never probe. Like, you could say one negative thing, they're not going to go, oh, really? Tell me more about that. And that? And what about, and what happened next? And then what? And trying to get you to talk. Someone who loves you and is on your side, they would never do that unless you wanted to share with them. And if you did, it would be healthy. They're not going to do anything with the information. They're just going to focus on your positive and believe in you. Those are the people that you want in your corner. And if someone's, making the mistake of bringing up negative things to you, you can set a boundary. But there's certain people that do this that are not deserving of a boundary. They're only deserving of their face slammed in the door. They need to get out. They need no contact, and you need to warn. I don't know, but certain people, you can do boundaries if it's just minor. But if it's like a full on, you see what they're doing, and then you call them out, and then they do it again. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So I'm saying, I hope I said everything that I wanted to say about the interrogator spirit, and watching out for these interrogators who are not, they can act sweet, they can act kind. You would never dream that they have a bad intention. The devil doesn't come out with horns. The devil comes out as an angel of light. The devil comes out as a helper. The devil is deceptive. The devil lies. And so these people are demonic. They are demonic in a sense of they are working for the enemy. They are against you. They're not for you. They are here to harm you. And I guess in a way, they're here to teach you to stay away from those types of spirits, from those types of people who are trying to hold you down and who are trying to harm you. So that's my message for today about dealing with the interrogator, or watching out for the interrogator. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment, because that's what helps my channel grow. I believe that I'm being shadow banned, and that's okay, because my true people that really get something out of what I say can be here. And the other people, so you definitely want to click on the notifications so that you get notified, because I am being shadow banned. And I don't care. I'm still going to talk. And I love you guys. Until next time, I'm Jenna Ryan. Talk to you soon.